Just have to take a quick minute to thank our sponsors, Yellow Dog Paddle Guide Service, Eddie Mackin's Rip and Lips Fishing Trips, Expeditions Fly Fishing LLC, njfishing.com. Also our supporters, Mike K's Guide Service, Psycho Jigs, Lip Glue, Signal 11, Nor'easter Hardcore Apparel, and FC Fish Company.
Well, then I ask, so what about Helmmaster? I say, what do you mean by Helmmaster? So if you have two engines, the Yamaha's their Helmmaster, so you can do a spot lock with the Helmmaster. Actually, Mercury's got it too. So can we do how are we going to control the guy who's manning a spot using his outboards? Well, let's ban that too. I was like, okay. And
can we just ban all engines and just make people paddle out there?
That's a good idea. We're going to ban engines. Another good idea, Chris. And then we really the fish finders we can't use them anymore either, and GPS too. So we're going to go back to paper charts.
And let's make this as hard as possible and just use like a rock tied to a rope as an anchor too. And if you can hold, then God bless you.
All right, I'm going to write that down. Can we get rid of braid? We got to get rid of braid then too, though. Let's go to.
You might as well.
I'll let you.
And jigs.
No jigs.
Blackfish jigs. Expedition Fly Fishing LLC, Joey Extra long name. This is his brand new business coming out of the ground. Drift boat trips in New York, fully guided. Very interesting though. He told me today he will not cater to you if you want to spin fish. I've never heard of a guide doing this. If you're interested in spin fishing, do not call Expeditions Fly Fishing. They will not accommodate you. But
he will teach you how to fly fish.
He'll teach you how to fly fish. Yes, he's mainly doing the East Branch, West Branch, Delaware River, New York. But he will accommodate some wading fishing in the Willowemak, Beaver Kill, some of the smaller creeks. First guide we've worked with from New York, and he's a great guy. Me and Chris are going to go fishing with him around Easter. If you want to do a fly fishing trip in New York, it's a great opportunity to go. And Joey, because the business is brand new, he's going to offer, if anyone books a trip, if you book a 2-man trip before April, he's going to give you $50 off. He's looking to book trips for immediately for March. So if you call him, Expeditions Fly Fishing LLC, call them today and you will save $50 on a 2-man trip or $25 off a 1-man trip. Hello and welcome to episode 91 of the NJ Multi-Species Podcast. I am your host, Joe Santiago. As always, my partner, Chris Pereira.
What's going on?
Tonight's guest, Jim Hutchinson Jr. from Fisherman Magazine. Going to be really cool to finally get him on here. Recapping the last week, Chris, we've had one of the best days ice fishing, probably top 10 ever for me. I don't know where it would rank on your list, but one of the best ever.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I know guys were talking about the ice being gone already. This ice is going to be here. We're going to be ice fishing through February. We're going to be ice fishing through. I don't know. Guys think they see like a 50-degree day, like 150-degree day in the forecast, and they think the ice is going to be gone. Like, no.
No, the ice fishing has been good. I was on it today. It's still 10 inches now. There's like, I don't know, 3 inches of snow on top, 4 inches. It made the walking kind of tougher, but still ice is still there, still good.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to get some rain. It'll, the snow actually, as much damage as the snow does to like insulate the ice to the water, it also actually protects it from a little bit of rain.
Yeah.
So the rain will pat it down, and it'll refreeze again because it's supposed to get cold again after that. And we're gonna be ice fishing through February. I'll I'll say it right here. There, I said it. Quote me.
It'll be gone in a week now. Okay, I think we have our guest ready to come in.
Yeah, we'll get back to the ice fishing talk afterwards.
Okay, so Mike Herman Yellow Dog Paddle have a ton of new stuff they're offering for the 2025 season. If you head over to Yellow Dog Paddle's website, it explains this in a lot more detail, but they're offering extended trips now, which are 1 hour longer. He's offering angler packages now, which is great for retirees. They're actually packages where you get 3, 4, even 2 trips. You could book 2, 3, or 4 trips for the year at a much discounted rate. And he's also has the lessons tab on the website. He's had several people that have fished with him and said they're going to buy their own boat now and do this. He now is offering fishing lessons if you're more interested in actually learning how it's all set up to troll, concentrated on setting it all up and how to do it more than fishing. So tons of options now from Yellow Dog Paddle. He's almost offering trolling school. So call Yellow Dog Paddle or head to Yellow Dog Paddle's website. Okay, so we finally have our guest ready to come in. The well-known magazine that everyone knows from the tri-state area, the Fisherman Magazine. We have the New Jersey head editor, Jim Hutchinson Jr. Welcome to the NJ Multi-Species Podcast.
Guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. What's up, Jim?
Nothing. Busy week getting ready for all these shows coming up. So,
how happy are you about the Eagles winning?
I'm a very happy boy today. My voice is a little bit scratchy today, and it was a hell of a night for sure. So, in fact,
go ahead. I told Joe if the Eagles didn't win, we weren't sure if you were going to show up, if you were just going to disappear. We didn't know how you were going to react.
I'd be here, but it'd probably be a big bottle of Jack sitting right here, and I'd be miserable and cursing a lot. So, this is good. No, this works out well.
Oh yeah, then I'm glad the Eagles won.
If you're an Eagles fan, it's part of my DNA. Multi generations of Philadelphia sports fans. So I paid my dues with a lot of years getting knocked down and coming back up again. So I think it's time to celebrate 50 years of disappointment. So
hey, for sure. I mean, congrats to South Jersey. I mean, the Eagles are South Jersey's team. Unfortunately, North Jersey's team, I guess, would be the Jets, and that's where I think Joe's and my own family, that's what they're fans of, so we don't really like to talk about it.
I can understand. Jets and Giants, I completely get it. I grew up with Jets and Giants fan, and I completely get it. So,
Jim, where if you were describing the Fisherman Magazine to someone watching this that doesn't know what it is, how would you describe it?
So we've always been unique in the fact that it's all granularly focused to the particular region. So the New Jersey edition was founded in the early 70s. So it's all focused on New Jersey. We'll do like travel pieces from time to time, but this was the one publication that was founded in the 60s, late 60s for Long Island edition, early 70s for New Jersey, that was dedicated to recreational fishing in the state of New Jersey. And we've been able to kind of maintain that local edge at grassroots because we cover news. We go to events. I go to fisheries meetings. I like to think that we're not just a how-to fishing magazine, that we bring you news and information. So that's one thing. I was a journalist before I joined the Fisherman Magazine. So I kind of like to think that I've melded a certain journalistic aspect to what we've got in the magazine. So you can flip through and you get all the pretty pictures and you get all the how-to and where-to and tactical information and product news. But what we do that I don't think there's another publication in the United States does is we cover all the granular details of fisheries management, the meetings, and stay on top of all that stuff, calendar of events. So by picking up the Fisherman Magazine in a Wawa or local newsstand or tackle shop, you're going to get a glimpse of everything that I can possibly know of what's going on in the state of New Jersey. I think that's what sets us apart and why we've been around for over 50 years.
Well, it's funny how you say the pretty pictures. Like, I remember before social media, like being in, like, no one saw your fishing pictures too much.
Right.
Being in the Fisherman Magazine was like, that was the thing. Like, if you got one, I saved one to show you.
Oh, this is great.
This is probably, I don't know, 15, maybe 15 years old.
How long ago was that photo? What year is that? That's
I can't believe you're showing that.
I'm loving it. I love it.
What?
So back in the day,
Why do you look so weird?
What year does that say? Can you see the year?
I got to take it out of the frame. It's got to be 15 years at least. It's turning yellow.
That's great. I'm just wondering
yeah,
if I wrote the caption. I'm not sure. I recognize a lot of photos, and that photo kind of seems familiar to me.
Oh, I immediately ran to a Wawa, bought 6 of them. I ripped one of them out of one of the pages and framed it, and it's still here, sitting here.
Well, that's a cool thing. So, like the cover of this, the February edition, it's Eileen Grant. She was fishing with her husband in late fall, caught a 12-pound tog at the Shrewsbury Rocks, let it go, and I just love the photo. So I love the aspect of trying my damnedest to get local photos. And what's funny is 15 years ago, getting a digital image, it was kind of sketchy because not a lot of people had digital cameras, and the camera phones it was garbage. But now folks are shooting
2 megapixel.
Yeah. So to explain to somebody, I can't run that on the cover because it's going to look like a pixelated watercolor art. It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
But the photos that I'm getting on cell phones now, they're tremendous. That they can blow up with such great detail on covers. I love running local covers. As much as I can get. I get photos, and during the height of the season, I'll get 20 a week, and there's no way for me to run them all. That's why I'm running them in the report section now that I had photos sent to me in October and November. But if it's a really good photo, I save it for the future. I'm like, oh, I'm going to put that on the cover. That's so good. So
I don't think Joe believes me, but I told him I sent you that tog that I caught at sunrise, and you told me you really liked that picture, so you're going to save it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I did. I did save that. That's right.
See, Joe?
Wow.
I did.
I wasn't lying.
A cover picture. That's impressive.
Now, Chris, over the years, Chris, you've sent me other photos, right?
Correct. I didn't think enough to grab. So I do have some copies of the Fisherman that I grabbed, same as Joe. I think I sent you a tiger muskie that me and my buddy Justin Lerner caught in the winter while we didn't have ice from the boat. Real nice, like patterned up tiger muskie. I think you guys used inside. And I think a nice fat smallmouth too from you guys used somewhere.
But you sent me some saltwater photos at some point. Did you send me like a mahi maybe or something?
I wouldn't have sent you mahi. I never caught a nice mahi. I never caught a mahi bigger than about that in New Jersey. So that wouldn't have. Not that one.
I tend to forget the important things, and I remember all the things related to fish and what's been in the magazine. So
I got to remember to send you more pictures. I used to do it more often, and then these days we put pictures here and there, and now we're running the podcast too, and there's so much stuff to do, and we forget to do things like that. But I want to send you more stuff in case you want to use anything too.
Well, that's the aspect to kind of finalize your question, what we're all about. And that's really what it's all about. It's about local, and yeah, you're right. Social media has kind of supplanted the print aspect. You look at what happened, newspaper that we all grew up with, the Newark Star Ledger, stopped printing last week.
Yeah, I saw that.
We're continuing to go. We've still, we've done a lot with quality of the monthly print. We're doing a lot of stuff digital and making the most use of social media and digital media. But it still means something, to see that picture in print when you go to the newsstand and pick up the magazine and say, oh, "Crap, that's me," and that's. I think it's really cool. So.
Or hey, that's my buddy Jim. Like anyone, it's definitely different to see it on an actual magazine, and I'm sure it wasn't easy to keep up with technology, but it seems like you guys haven't really skipped a beat. You jumped right on board with the times and just kept going, and you still have the magazine to boot.
We're slow to adopt. I left the magazine for about 6 years, and that was from 2000 and what was it, 2009 to 2015. I was gone, and during that time, the publisher and owner of the magazine now, he had bought it from the old owner, and the old owner didn't want to go digital media. He didn't want to do a website. And Mike Caruso has done an extraordinary job because he's done all that print stuff, but he wants to do, we're doing the videos, we're doing social media, we do a lot on our YouTube channel. So in order to exist, I think any media company's got to run on a bunch of different platforms, whether it's a local, fishing magazine or something on a national basis. But we do our best.
Jim, I have a few questions people sent in. I got to throw a couple tough ones at you while I have you here.
Okay.
Chuck Manny.
Oh boy.
Chuck Manny says it's completely 100% harder to catch a small striper than it is a bigger one. And he sees the writing on the wall for a major problem coming. He wants to know, what you think you see coming in that regulation for next fall.
There's two separate things, and I trust Chuck a lot. Chuck's probably the best striper fisherman I've ever met, I've ever talked to, or I've ever fished with. And Chuck knows how to catch big fish. There's two components, I think, here that are at work. And that's with the spawning stock biomass, and that's all the management mess that we've been through. And then there's the young of the year and the new baby fish that are coming out of the Chesapeake and the Hudson especially, and also the Delaware. I think that Chuck is right based on the young of the year information. If their survey data coming out of the Chesapeake and the Hudson and the Delaware River is accurate, we're going to see some lean years coming ahead because we don't have enough baby stripers coming through. So I definitely think that's going to be an aspect where maybe we're going to see fewer and fewer smaller fish, fewer of those smaller fish 5, 6, 8 years from now entering the 28 to 31 inch slot. And then we're going to be hanging our hats on what's in that spawning stock biomass, which that's the second component. I don't think it's hand wringing and doom with the spawning stock biomass right now. I think the numbers are pretty good. We happen to be at a point. So I'll do all the props in the world to Chuck. I love Chuck. But when we look at the management discussions we've had, especially in the last year, it's a lot of folks that are really scared and they're saying this is bad. But when you look at the charts, where we are today with the spawning stock biomass, those bigger fish, we're actually at the same point today that we were 30 years ago in 1995 when we were all celebrating the rebirth of stripers, and striped bass was rebuilt because our spawning stock biomass was rebuilt to 201 million pounds of spawning stock biomass. We're almost there right now. So to think that where we are today versus where we are 30 years ago is that far off, that 30 years ago it was a celebration and today it's doom and gloom. No, I think we're in good shape there. But Chuck is right, because where we stand with the baby fish coming into the system over the next few years, if we don't have a good spawning class in the Chesapeake in the next couple of years, I'm starting to get a little fearful. I don't know what we can do about that. The goal is to have as many of those big old fat fecund female fish, the boffs, have as many of them as the ecosystem can take, so that if all the environmental conditions are right, we'll get a great year, great young of the year, baby eggs, the eggs and the baby stripers and the fish after 1 year. That's the recruitment year, and a recruitment class that's just second to none. Then we're going to be in good shape. But I don't know how we get there.
Do you think the Omega boats play a big role in it?
They might in the Chesapeake, because I think that, I think there's a lot of variables, right? I think that we're at a situation where I would really like to see our federal government apply a lot of scientific money to studying the health of the Chesapeake, because if the majority of our striped bass along the East Coast are coming from that Chesapeake as the prime nursery, then we got to get a better handle what's going on down there. Could be runoff. It could be the environmental conditions on the Chesapeake, the water quality. It could be phytoplankton. It could be the lack of bunker, because Omega is now kind of boxed into doing what they want in the Virginia portion of the Chesapeake. That's certainly a call. But it could also be blue catfish. They were introduced by biologists years ago because they thought it would be a good sport fish, and those things are eaten too much. could be cormorants. There are a number of things that need to be looked at. Certainly fishing is one of them. And, I just stand up and I say, yeah, we can look at fishing, but we really need to look at everything else too. And certainly environmental conditions, as Chuck would tell you, 20 years ago, you could reasonably say that striped bass migrate down the coast in the winter and they winter over off the Outer Banks. That's just not true anymore. Anybody saying that is just going from one of the textbooks up on my shelf. That I don't think they're wintering over there anymore. And Chuck will tell you that because he used to travel down to, I think as far as Ocracoke or certainly North Carolina, take his tie man down there. Then he started taking it down to Virginia Beach. Then he stopped doing that, stopped running out of Rudy because they're going as far south as Cape Charles and heading up the Chesapeake. So we certainly have a climate change situation with the water temperatures changing, the migration patterns are changing. But to get back to the original question in a nutshell, yeah, in a few years we're going to see fewer small fish because if all those spawning of all those young of the year recruitment surveys they're doing in the Chesapeake, the Delaware and the Hudson are correct, we are going to see fewer fish in a few years. It's just that's the science is on the wall.
Man, I love to say that nature will find a way, but in this scenario, I don't know. I wouldn't say it in this scenario. Like something else is at play here, whether it be any of those variables that you just mentioned, or most likely probably a combination of all of them.
I think it is, yeah.
Right, and and I know Chuck is worried about this whole no target regulation possibility, because if he can't fish for stripers, he's gonna have to spend all his time like fishing for dogfish and sea robins with us, or freshwater fishing.
As long as Chuck likes to, he's catch and release guy. But if you guys go spiny dogfish fishing, just make sure you bring them all back. That's the most important thing. I definitely think the amount of spiny dogfish we're seeing in the ecosystem is hampering it too. Hey, we started the management discussions, so let's talk about that real quick because a lot of people got really scared. There was this big effort to get the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission's Atlantic Striped Bass Management Board to make a sudden decision on December 16th. And folks said, let's close down the fishery for 2 months, no harvest for 2 months. And these folks were trying to push this to happen right away and have the board do this rather than send it through to the full ASMFC to really look at everything, take a look at all of the recreational data collection from 2024, look at maybe assessment updates, discuss the options, go to public meetings and hearings. But there were a handful of guys that said, no, we got to make the decision right now. It's got to be done. It's got to be immediate. We're going to close down harvest for 2 months. But if you think about it, that half of the mortality rate in the recreational community comes from the harvest, but the other half of the mortality rate in the recreational community for striped bass comes from catch and release mortality. So when you start bringing some options and say, listen, we can have a 2-month no harvest closure, or let's lessen the degree of pain and make it just 1 month where nobody targets fish. I think that should be an option. And I think that's what really brought that to the forefront in December, saying these all need to be options for people, because there are some communities, I know some shops and some for hire captains, their customers they consume, that's who they are. And if they don't harvest fish for 2 months, they're not fishing for 2 months. So it should be an option then that you take 1 month and leave that as an option as having a no targeting whatsoever for a month. Do I support that option? No, I'm just saying that we need to have all the options on the table. The other confusing part was this effort really was pushed out of the state of Massachusetts, and they thought they were cute. They said, listen, we're going to shut down harvest for 2 months in November and December. That's wave 6 of the Marine Recreational Information Program, MRIC. We'll close down those 2 months in November and December to harvest, and everything will be good. And then you ask, well, so when are you guys shutting down? It's like, oh, November and December. So after your fish have left, nice sacrifice, Massachusetts. You guys are the best. So they're putting all the effort or all the pain in New York and New Jersey. So
you can't blame them for trying.
No, but that's where it got off. That's where the confusion set in, right? So if
Right.
you look at 2 seasons where New Jersey has a robust striped bass fishery, it's in the spring and in the fall. So it's
Right.
wave 6 of MRIP, which is October or November and December, and then also wave 2, which is March and April. So then you throw in other options saying, well, listen, if I have let's make it a 1 month of no target, for example. Then if I do some of it at the end of the season and some of it at the beginning, can we do that? And then you start asking those questions in the ASMFC folks. I don't know. We got to look at that. And it's like, well, that's why you shouldn't make this knee-jerk decision on December 16th. So these are all the variables we're going to have to look at this year. And I'm not saying I support any one of the options, but I'm saying is you need to have enough options and have enough public input and public discussion and bring a bunch of people to the table so that you understand what exactly you're going to need if you want to do something with striped bass. But here's the important part that folks have to understand about this whole effort is that striped bass is overfished because they want to rebuild it to 247 million pounds of spawning stock biomass. And like I said, the last time we rebuilt it in 1995, it was 201 million pounds. And right now we're at like 192 or 193 or something like that. So we were on track to rebuild. Everything's good, everything fine and dandy. We are rebuilding. But then somebody said, yeah, but here's what we're looking at. We think in 2025, because more of the certain year class, I don't remember, it was 16, 17, or 18. I can't remember right now, but one of the year classes was going to be moving, one of the good year classes from the Chesapeake was going to move into that 28 to 31 inch slot range. So the people at the technical folks at ASMFC think because there's so many fish entering the slot this year that we're actually going to over harvest this year, that we're going to see more fish and we're going to kill more fish, but they don't have any science about that. So this was based on a prediction. So, today we're in good shape, we're rebuilding, but if their predictions are accurate, then we're going to go over the mortality level that they have established.
And I've heard that before, where like a way to fight this is to change the slot from season to season or every couple of seasons to, I guess, to avoid what you're talking about now. I don't know if that's done anywhere. I can't think of it being done here with any species off the top of my head. I don't know if it's been done anywhere with proven results. You would know.
I don't know. I don't know that. Okay. And I think that's the situation is that we're relatively new in this narrow slot. And it was done to protect, what was it, the 2015 year class? And when they did this to say, we got to protect this 2015 year class that's robust, so we got to protect them. And they were in a slot and we got to make sure that they get past the 31 inch slot limit. That's what we got to make sure. But some of us at the time asked, what's that going to do for the next year classes, 16, 17, and 18? We're going to put a lot of pressure on those fish. Don't you think? It's like, no, we're going to do this. Stop it. You're just being a jerk. So shut up. Sit down and shut up. And then 2 years later, they're like, wow, we've got another year class entering the slot. We got to do something. I was like, I'm sorry, didn't I ask you that question a couple of years ago? So the slot component is relatively new, and we're not necessarily giving it enough time to figure out what it's doing because we don't have time, some people would say. I think the one key issue is this, and I brought this up in a discussion 15 years ago about looking at a slot fish for striped bass. Not that I supported it, but I wanted to have a discussion. And I really ticked off a bunch of people in the room. They went out on social media and web message boards and trashed me. And I was like, I'm just trying to ask questions, right? And sitting in a room, we should be able to ask questions. The one thing the slot in general has done is if you think about the April and May fishery, I'll go back to the Fisherman Magazine and how many 50, 55, 60 pound stripers were hung on scales in the magazine. We are letting all of those big old fat fecund female fish free. The fish that are coming in, they're going to stage in the Delaware and the Raritan in April before they head up the Hudson River. Anybody who catches a big fish like that is letting it go. That in itself was a real good way of protecting big spawning fish without closing down a spawning estuary and saying you can't go out and target these fish, right? So that gets back to those options of saying, Well, let's just say you can't harvest any fish that big. Okay, that's fine. Or you say, well, you can't harvest any fish. I was like, well, how about a smaller one? Yeah, it's striped bass is such an emotional fishery. It's important to get everybody sitting at the table of varying interests, and
Yeah.
that's, Chuck and I might not see eye to eye, but I love sitting down talking to Chuck because I learned so much. But you need to have people of various interests to sit around a table and figure out exactly what we want from the fishery.
How do you feel about the bonus tag? Like, is the bonus tag really necessary right now?
Well, why would it not be?
I think sometimes a lot of striper goes to waste. Like when a person takes a striper, they don't realize how much fish they're taking, and when they use the bonus tag, it's only $2 first of all, which I don't know, what's the point even of charging for $2. And
Is it they charge? I didn't think there was a charge on it.
I thought it was
I don't think no, I think it's free unless it's changed. I haven't gotten it the last couple of seasons just because I just didn't care. But I have gotten before. I'm pretty sure it was free.
Yeah, I don't think they charge.
And I always thought, I mean, I'm going to disagree with you, Joe, in that I always thought, because like anything else, if I'm keeping fish, I want to keep a smaller fish. It tastes better. It grew to that size faster. You're taking less years of, I don't know what to call it. You're taking less years of growth out of a fishery by taking a smaller fish. Some people look at it the other way, like, oh, you're taking a smaller fish. It hasn't even had a chance to grow yet. But I don't think that's the way to look at it. You're looking at it as if you're taking something that hasn't been in the ecosystem as long. It hasn't taken as much out. You're not in hand taking as much out because of that. And it just tastes better. I think it does less damage to the fishery and it tastes better. I mean, I think it's a win-win for the smaller fish. I thought the bonus program was very helpful, actually.
Well, so I'm going to piggyback on what you said, and because on top of what you said, Chris, there's also the component that a smaller fish has a better chance of being a male. So we know that the larger fish over 28 inches are primarily female, and at 28 inches, they have spawned at least once or twice. So
the females grow faster, I guess?
They grow larger, as with a lot of species, and we're not going to say human, of a lot of species, the females they grow a little bit larger. So the striped bass, those fish get larger. And so a 28-inch fish, if you get a 34, 35-inch fish, you can almost guarantee that fish is a female. Yeah. So the threshold of 28 means that at least these fish have spawned at least once, probably twice. So, Joe, you're right about the idea that a 25-inch fish that falls into that slot could be a female that never got a chance to spawn. So that's wrong. But the other component is a fish of 25 inches, it has better chance of being a male. So that's one aspect. So real quick with our bonus program, because it just seems like I'm going to continue to trash Massachusetts because a lot of this criticism, I'm serious, because just
go ahead. This isn't the Massachusetts multi-species.
Good. It's a multi-species New Jersey. I like that. A lot of folks in Massachusetts come down on New Jersey for the bonus program, right? So we have roughly 200,000 pounds of unused commercial quota since New Jersey has game fish protection for striped bass. So the state of New Jersey takes that 200,000 pound quota and says, look, we're going to reallocate a portion of that quota to the recreational community through the bonus program. So we're going to issue tags and we're going to tabulate the incoming tags so that we only use X percentage. We're never going to use the full quota. We're only going to use a small percentage. And I don't think they've ever used more than 15% of the bonus program quota based on the return tags. But we're going to require the fisherman who keeps these tags and says that we're going to use these, I want daily catch logs from them. So you have to keep logs and you have to submit all that paperwork. And the state of New Jersey is able to use all that to gather some really incredible data that some states don't have. So we've
like
taken
a trade.
What's that? Like a trade?
It's like a trade. Like they're trading. Okay, you get to keep this extra bonus fish and you're going to pay us with information.
With information, exactly. So rather than a $2 fee, which I don't think I would be opposed for a $10 fee because it's commercial quota that we're using. So pay for it. But you're right, because
The
the
$2 fee might have been my crab license because I
That might
put
have been
them
that.
on the same page. It's one same page. It's one of them. The crab
Joe
legend.
forgets a lot. Let's
One
just
of
go
them's
with it was free.
So do I.
the
So
registry fee. I know that.
the state gets some really good information from that. So, at the end of the day, the state gets some good information. We utilize a small portion of a commercial quota, 15% of 200,000 pounds. That means the other 85% of that is now swimming reserve. So we don't use a lot of the quota. Meanwhile, I got Massachusetts has like 700,000 pounds of quota, big fish, hook and line commercial fishery. And any one of us could go up to Massachusetts and buy a permit to become commercial fishermen. So they don't even keep it just for the commercial fishermen. They say, come on in, pay us a fee. We'll let you keep and sell as many stripers as possible. So theoretically, we can bring our big center console up with the 3 outboards and go get ourselves a commercial permit, go kill a bunch of 35, 38-inch fish, sell most of them back at the dock, keep a couple of them for ourselves. We've paid for the gas money and we can come back to Jersey. I think that's horrible. And I think it's horrible that Massachusetts and some people in Massachusetts continue to put pressure on us for this bonus program, which is a small portion of a 200,000 pound quota. One more thing that I would leave folks to understand is within the last couple of years, the ASMFC has approved a transfer of commercial quota. Once the striped bass fishery is rebuilt, and as long as it's not overfished, they've determined that that's when they're going to allow states to trade commercial quota. So right now, theoretically, Massachusetts and Rhode Island, if the striped bass fishery wasn't overfished, they could say, listen, guys, we didn't use all of our striped bass quota. Would you like the rest of our quota? Because we could use some black sea bass quota. So they do a little bit of state trading, bargaining, right? We'll give you 20,000 pounds of striper, give us 15,000 pounds of black sea bass for our commercial fish. We'll call it even. In theory, if the striped bass fishery gets rebuilt and we listened to people and got rid of our bonus program and left it sitting alone and didn't touch it, what's to stop the commercial fishermen of New Jersey from saying, listen, we're going to take that 200,000 pound commercial quota that we're not allowed to use. Let's trade it to New York for fluke quota. So next thing you know, we wouldn't have any quota whatsoever, and it would still be caught, still be killed, still be sold on the open market. We wouldn't be doing any type of conservation benefit, and the recreational community wouldn't be getting anything for it. So sometimes I think people have to really look at the details and say,
it's really crazy how in depth this gets. It's nuts.
It is.
I got to be honest. I was not aware of the whole thing where you could go up to Massachusetts and they had this hook and line commercial fishery that you could just kind of buy into and participate in. I was not even aware of that.
Well, Joe, you were mentioning crab licenses. You and I can't go out and get ourselves a commercial crab permit. There are very few of them that are available. People are waiting in line to get them in a lottery in New Jersey. You can buy somebody's unused commercial permit, but there's a waiting list of commercial crabbers in the state of New Jersey. That should be the way Massachusetts runs that striped bass program. You shouldn't be able to get a striped bass commercial, in my opinion. You shouldn't get a commercial striped bass permit unless you can show 30% of your income is derived from the commercial fishery. I don't want to take anything away from the commercial fishermen. We can fight on all kinds of other things. But if you're a commercial fisherman, then that's what you are, and you go get your commercial permit. But if you're just trying to make some gas money, make some money on the side, well, that's a heck of a lot worse what you're doing up there than what we're doing with this pittance of a quota to allow me to come home with 126-inch striped bass.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems crazy. It makes your head spin, really. I mean, wow.
I want to Blackfish. The next thing I want to pick your brain about the sea bass numbers or whatever. So far, they've said they're phenomenal, highest ever. It could possibly be the best sea bass fishing in the world in New Jersey right now. But the blackfishing seems to be a little bit on the decline. A lot of guys are blaming technology for it. The spot lock obviously being a big advantage now. They could anchor better. They're saying it's one of the most poached fish stolen out of New Jersey illegally. What do you think is going on with the future of blackfishing in New Jersey?
I know that there's a problem because I talk to enough of our partners and talk to enough fishermen. Look, we have so many people that are advertising the fishermen for hire boats, the charter boats, head boats, tackle shops. I talk to a lot of people about this. And I certainly see that in the northern half of the state, there's certainly, let's call it localized depletion. And the reason I'm using it that way, because the reefs and wrecks that these guys are going to on a regular basis, they're not seeing them as much as they did. You find yourself a good spot that nobody's fishing, I think you'll find those blackfish, but certainly there's depletion because these fish are, I think for the most part, are just moving inshore and offshore. They've got their different spots. They're moving inshore or offshore, depending on the season. And I definitely think we're seeing a problem with blackfish. We could say all kinds of things about technology, but it's not just the spot lock. It's the, because I've heard people say, we got to ban spot lock. I was like, okay, so let's get an idea on how we're going to do this. Does that mean just Minn Kota, or are we going to do Rodan too? Because spot lock is proprietary to Minn Kota. I was like, no, we'll do all trolling motors. I was like, got it. All right.
Can we afford security guards at all the boat ramps and marinas to make sure that this is
well then I ask, so what about helm master? I say, what do you mean by helm master? So if you have two engines, the Yamaha's their helm master, so you can do a spot lock with the helm master. Actually, Mercury's got it too. So can we do how are we going to control the guy who's manning a spot using his outboards? Well, let's ban that too. I was like, okay. And
can we just ban all engines and just make people paddle out there?
That's a good idea. We're going to ban engines. Another good idea, Chris. And then we really, the fish finders we can't use them anymore either, and GPS too. So we're going to go back to paper charts.
And let's make this as hard as possible and just use like a rock tied to a rope as an anchor too. And if you can hold, then God bless you.
All right, I'm going to write that down. Can we get rid of braid? We got to get rid of braid then too, though. Let's go to.
You might as well.
I'll let you.
And jigs.
No
blackfish jig
illegal. No, it's got to be the Belmar rig and only the Belmar rig. So I think when you look at all this stuff, technology certainly over the last 30 years and everything, the tog jigs, the braided line, the high, some of these high torque spinning reels and the inexpensive, how the expense of the original Shimano, what was that? The Stella, and now all of those high gear reels, the prices have gone down. It's everything. And when I was a kid, tog fishing wasn't that popular either. I grew up at the Jersey Shore. I grew up on LBI, and people tog fish, but not the way it is today.
Do you think it was because it was harder to too hard to do, almost like it was too much effort with the technology that they had back then? That just popped into my head. Why?
I think that's what it is. And we tend to popularize species. We look at things. It's the same thing as the giant bluefin in the 80s in the mud hole. I hear folks now when these bluefin show up inshore, it's like, this is unheralded. It's never happened before. It's like, unless you go back to the 80s, and we get every year there's bluefin on the beach, that it's been happening forever. So we have a short attention span. Sometimes we only look at what we see today and yesterday and think that's the way it's always been. But things evolve, things change. And certainly things have changed a lot with the tog fishery. I had the absolute honor of fishing with Kane Bounds on it's Kane's boat. Kane Bounds is the world record holder down out of Maryland, and he's got a waiting list that's like 15 years long. But I was down with friends and we fished with him. I had spent some time talking to Kane about that Maryland fishery, and he was telling me a little bit more about how some of these fish are just kind of staying in these same wrecks, and they have done some tags at certain wrecks, and he finds a lot of these big fish, they don't leave very far. So that's kind of gets back to that localized depletion. We're not kind of seeing a whole new influx of fish coming in from different places. So once you use all of your electronics and your technology to find that wreck and get on it, you can hit it pretty hard. You change that with black sea bass, because black sea bass is twice the stock that it was supposed to be. I mentioned striped bass being at the assessment, they got to get it to, 247 million pounds. And black sea bass, they had a rebuild number that was here. Well, we went here And we were more sea bass than we had to. It was like, great, you're going to open up the season for us, right? And said, oh no, we're going to protect that. So this was 25 years of people telling us, while I've been at the magazine, sacrifice now because everything's going to get better for you down the road. Black sea bass is a perfect example of where that doesn't happen, because we not only rebuilt it, we built it to twice what it was supposed to be, and then he told us we weren't going to have access to it. So then it becomes very difficult when you go to another structure-loving fish like like blackfish. It's like, I think a lot of people are saying we really need to do some better studies because we don't know what the heck's going on with them. So,
well, and plus they're not going to trust. I mean, they don't trust what's told to them anyway after stuff like that happens.
There is a trust problem with the fisheries managers at NOAA Fisheries.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Hopefully that's something that could be tackled. But as far as the poaching too, you mentioned, Joe, that's something that I would like to be done across state boundaries, because there was a problem with it before there was a commercial tag. Now that these tog have to be tagged by the commercial fishery, that has I would like to think that has done a number on the black market fishery, because it used to be 15 years ago when I was living in New York. You'd go to any market in downtown Manhattan or in Flushing, Queens, and you'd see blackfish swimming in the tank right there in the window. And there's no provenance on there. You couldn't tell where these fish came from. Now that it's got a commercial tag, you see a live fish swimming in there, it should have a tag in it, and that means it's been tracked. So that tracking device, that tracking paperwork that goes with that, should be a good impedance to black market poaching, one would think.
One last thing I want to throw at you. I know a couple people who have come on the show have advocated for a saltwater fishing license. A couple have been against it. I've seen you on some message boards kind of go against it. You're not a fan of a saltwater fishing license.
I would, if you can guarantee. Well, okay. So I'll go back in a little history. So I spent 6 years at the Recreational Fishing Alliance as the managing director. Jimmy Donofrio was executive director. We were opposed to a saltwater fishing license. Now, at the early stages of me being at the RFA, when I was living in New York, I told Jimmy, I said, we have this legislator in New York who's guaranteed us he's going to protect this license. He's going to protect the funding, and everything's going to be good. He's asking us to kind of agree with him, and he's going to keep it at $10. And Jimmy was like, RFA is opposed to it. And I said, but our group's up here, we think this is good, and we trust this assemblyman. Or senator at the time, Senator Bob Sweeney. And Jimmy said, I'm going to get burned. So we did it. And under the Patterson administration, Patterson was only in there for a short period of time, they launched the $10 saltwater fishing license in New York. So the first thing that Patterson did is, well, if you've got 500,000 saltwater anglers in New York at $10 a piece, that's a good amount of money. I'm going to stop funding the Marine Fisheries Department because now I can get the funding from the licenses. So the first thing he did is he took that money away from the general fund, and the marine resources in New York was zero budget until the licenses had to pay for it. So the community went up in arms, and they went back to Sweeney. He said, what happened? He goes, I'm trying to fix it. He goes, we said, you made us promises.
Yeah.
And my buddy Jimmy said, I told you. So
damn politicians.
So eventually the license was repealed by then State Senator Lee Zeldin, who now just got confirmed as the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. When he was a state senator in New York and an angler, he worked with Governor Cuomo, who was also an angler, and they repealed that fee. The thing is this, I have learned that politicians can raid accounts whenever they want. Politicians need to dedicate more funding to things like marine fisheries and recreational fishing. It's a huge tourism draw here at the Jersey Shore. Yet the Department of Environmental Protection puts very little bit of money into our marine fisheries. Everybody will tell you, look at Florida. But when you look at the Florida general funding, the funds that come out of the general fund that go to the marine fisheries of Florida, it's in the millions and millions and millions of dollars before they charge a single saltwater license. So we can't necessarily, no matter what somebody says about protecting that saltwater fishing license, you can't do that unless you were able to change the state constitution and dedicate that funding. Or if you had a mechanism like this, and I asked this years ago, I was like, for every $2 that is raised from a saltwater fishing license, I want $2 coming from the general fund, right? So that way, if some politician decides we need to steal some funding from the Marine Division and raise more money from the saltwater license, they say, okay, you're going to raise it $5. That means $5 more is coming out of the general fund into our marine fisheries. That way you can protect and conserve a fee the way it is. In New Jersey, when we went through this saltwater license versus registry debate, after a long, long process, I was standing in the Senate committee hearing at the time when they were going to vote on a free registry. And that was when I was working with Jimmy Donofrio, and Jimmy and I leaned into each other. And Jimmy had already agreed to a compromise for a $5 fee for the saltwater registry. Already agreed to it. The state of New Jersey said it's not enough. So when the two legislators that were promoting this free registry, including at the time State Senator Jeff Van Drew, found out that we were willing to go to $5, but the state didn't want to go under 15 or 20, Van Drew said, well, screw him. We're going to get this free registry then. He's now a congressman in South Jersey. So I'm standing in this Senate committee hearing, and Jimmy leans into me. He goes, I think it's going to be $5. I think the fix is in. It's like, we looked at each other saying, I think we can live with that, right? I say, I think we can live with this. So one of the people from the DEP gets sent up. He gets called to testify right in front of this committee. And the committee asks, all right, I have before me a free registry bill, right? Because you have to collect all the names and numbers of anglers in New Jersey, and it can be done for free. And that's what this legislation says. But you want $5. He said, yes. But keep in mind, we'd offered $5 along the way and they didn't want it. So they had missed every opportunity to do this. Yes, we think it should be $5. And one senator asks this guy, says, what are you going to do with the $5? He says, well, $1 is going to go to administering the fee. $1 is going to go to mailing out your registry card. And then $1 is going to go to, managing stuff. And,
oh, God.
And the senator says, what about the other $2? And he goes, I don't know. And the whole Senate committee starts to laugh, and they bang the gavel and say, I'd like to make a motion for the free registry. Seconded, all in favor, say aye. We're going to send this to the full Senate for a vote. And that's how the New Jersey saltwater license failed to exist, because it was there, but nobody at the state, because they didn't know. Nobody's sitting down with a checkbook to figure out how we're going to balance our finances. So while I understand that a saltwater license makes sense, you need to write the legislation. You need to get legislators that you can trust. You have to make sure it gets through a committee where it doesn't get torn apart, dissected, diverted, discombobulated. And then you have to make sure that you have a governor that you can trust to sign that legislation. And as far as I'm concerned, if we're going to get a saltwater license in New Jersey, I want a split House Assembly and a Senate. I want the Republicans and Democrats running either one of those. So checks and balances. And I certainly want a governor other than Governor Murphy who's going to sign on that final bill, because otherwise what we're asking for is to get ramrodded the same way as New York did under Governor Patterson. So,
yeah, and you can't argue with any of this. Basically, I think a lot of us feel the same way. We see the benefit that it could have.
Absolutely.
But don't trust any of these guys with any part of it.
I think we all want to see more enforcement. We want to see more, more enforcement officers to get rid of the scofflaws that we have, right? To do something. And we want to help our friends at the Division of Fish and Wildlife, freshwater and saltwater side as well. But that doesn't mean that we can just acquiesce and sign on the dotted line before we look at what everything in that package really entails. And I think that's where we get. There are a lot of misconceptions too. Folks say if we get a saltwater license, we're going to get more federal funding through sport fish restoration. I was like, that's interesting, because Maryland, Delaware, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, they all have a saltwater fishing license, and they get the same threshold of money back from the Fed as we do. And we don't have a saltwater registry. So how do you explain that? And again, I'm met with, well, I don't know. It's like, because it's a lie. It's not. It's not how many licenses. it's not as many licenses, it's the size of your state. That's the biggest in the formula for getting more money from the Fed. So I wouldn't be personally, I don't think I would be opposed to it on the right situation, the right instance, the right circumstances. But it also means the right balance of power in Trenton so that we can guarantee that what we want gets through. Like I said, standing there in that Senate committee, I saw where a bill was going to go. The bill said free. We thought it was going to go to $5. And we thought, we can live with this. This is good. Our people will be fine with it. And right there on the spot, it could have gone 5. The state had it in their hands. They didn't know where the money was going to go. That's what I'm afraid of.
It's not crazy to be afraid of that because I mean, I just can't wrap my head around trusting it. I just can't. I can't do it. I would love to be able to, but I just can't, unfortunately. And because we've all fished down in Florida. I don't know about Joe. You fished down in Florida?
Yeah.
Saltwater. I mean, they have a saltwater license, and Jim touched on it before. It's a totally different scenario, but the fisheries down, I mean, they have access everywhere, like real nice piers and like it just wouldn't work.
They have more respect. Look, I have friends that'll tell me about that in Florida. Well, here in Florida, I said, you retired from New Jersey to move to Florida, right? I was like, yep, yeah, the fishing's great down here. It's like, you retired, you don't pay for a fee, right? No. I was like, your taxes are low, aren't they? Yeah. I said, do you carry a gun now? Yeah. I was like, so you're telling me that if I adopt the saltwater fishing license in New Jersey, I'm going to lower my taxes and carry a gun too? I was like, you're comparing apples to applesauce. It's just completely different. Florida's a different place. Plus, we pay more. When we go in from out of state, we're paying more than the state angler does.
Oh, yeah.
So,
that's
for a reason.
Well, Jim, I can't thank you enough for coming on here. It's been pretty awesome to talk with you after years of watching your fishing report videos and looking at the magazine. Actually talking to you in person is really cool. Do you want to plug like where to get the Fisherman Magazine still currently?
Yeah, I'll tell you
the pick it up.
Best place right now is this week. Thursday through Sunday, we're in Edison, the New Jersey Boat Sale and Expo. We're running all the seminars up there. We've got 4 days, 4 days of seminars there. We have free magazines there. We'll be at Surf Day, Lincroft on Saturday. Have free magazines out there. Jenny Ackerman's going to be there. And then I'm heading up to the Philadelphia Fishing Show Friday through Sunday. So you can visit a tackle shop or Wawa, but if you want a free copy, come out to one of those shows and come see us. Got a whole bunch of seminars coming up too. In fact, Chuck is doing a seminar right after me on Thursday afternoon in Edison, which is really going to be cool. I can't thank him enough for doing that.
Awesome.
We're going to get a text from Chuck Thursday seeing if we're fishing, and then I'm going to send them fishing pictures, try to make him jealous that he can't come fishing.
He's on at night. He's like a happy hour presentation.
Oh, okay.
Jim, thank you so much for taking the time to come on here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Anybody can reach me too at, check out the video, but Jay Hutchinson at thefisherman.com. Send me your nasty messages there. I'm happy to answer them all as best I possibly can.
If anyone from Massachusetts watches this, they're not going to be happy about it.
I'm gonna clip that part and post it into the Massachusetts fishing page.
Just put it in the New England fishing page.
Yeah, if the Massachusetts multi-species guys would like to get in touch with me, I'm ready to go. So we'll talk about your striped bass quota and your messed up way of doing things as well.
Jim,
listen, I'm a Jersey guy. We got to protect Jersey, right? You guys get it. You're right there.
Hey, that's why we started the podcast. So we put New Jersey in the title. And just like you, we travel. We do travel things sometimes. Talk about stuff that you can drive to, or even if it's a long drive, we do it all. But we base everything out of New Jersey and out of the tri-state area, and because the fishing here, we say it all the time. The fishing here is incredible. It really is. People that don't fish here don't understand maybe all the time that the stripers, they see that all the time and posts and stuff and the popular, but our freshwater fishery is the all the different species we have. You can't really get that anywhere else. I say it all the time. The variety is really unmatched. I mean, I post everywhere, and I got guys from Florida even surprised. How are you catching all these fish in New Jersey? We got a good stocking program here.
Excellent.
Freshwaters and the saltwater fisheries are great, and especially the stripers and South Jersey Blackfish is great. I mean, yeah, we love it here. I mean, I do, at least. Joe,
I do as well.
I love it here for fishing. It's
well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the fishing. But Jim, I'm glad Joe finally got to talk to, kind of in person, virtually, to the editor that printed the piece that he clearly sleeps with every night that he framed. And yeah, there it is.
I think it's fantastic.
Really, really nice picture.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
Jim. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, guys. I'll look for you in the shows this year. So thank you very much for having me.
And you're welcome back anytime. Obviously, you have your fingers in all the different aspects of fishing around here, and we'd love to have you back on in the future. Talk about anything.
Well, let's talk this spring or summer, and we'll talk fishing. So I'm stuck in this management mumbo jumbo all winter long. So I look forward to March 1st, striper season starts, and then I start fishing. I don't want to talk about this garbage anymore. So we'll get on and talk fishing.
We're gonna reach you back out to you, see if we can get you back on to talk fishing specific in the spring.
That'd be fantastic. I'd like it.
Awesome.
All right, awesome.
Thank you, Jim.
Appreciate it.
Take care, bud.
Eddie Mackin's Rippin' Lips Fishing Trips. If you want to fish Lake Hopakon, you could fish with the legend himself, the man who only fishes one lake, Lake Hopakon, Eddie Mackin. Yeah, and he does know that lake so well because he only fishes there. The other thing that's great about his guide services, just like Yellow Dog Paddle, when you book Mackin, you are going to go fishing with Mackin. He doesn't have any workers working under him. Does every trip himself. If you book your trip before March 1st, he's offering $50 off. So if you plan on booking a trip on Lake Hopakon with Mackin this summer, do it now and save $50. That good, Chris?
It was so good, Joe, except he does fish other lakes sometimes. Full disclaimer.
Don't say that. It's not true. All right. No. Okay, so that was pretty cool to finally speak to Jim Hutchinson on here. Like I said, episode 91. Jim Hutchinson and the Fisherman Magazine is like a real staple to the state. It's always been around. And like I said, when I was a kid, even now, you still rush to the newsstand. When we just recently we got the 15 species with Chuck Manny, they put a article in there about it, and I ran right to the Wawa and bought it. It's on the shelf over here too. So yeah, I do collect ones that I'm in. They're on the shelf. It's just cool, I don't know, whatever.
Whenever I would stop to get food or something on the way to go saltwater fishing, driving down, you stop at a Wawa or a Quick Check. I prefer Quick Check, but whatever. And you see it there on the rack, and you always look there, like while you're waiting for your sandwich to be made, or while you're waiting for your buddy to take a dump and he's taking 10 minutes, even though it's usually me. But you got the magazine there, and you always look through the rack and flip through it, and a lot of times you see something really interesting, and then
or see someone
right, yeah, and then
usually always see the boat, Yeah, and now they have their video reports. George Showers does a video report of the freshwater. Jim does the saltwater report, sometimes from his office. Sometimes he does it right from the beach, like he said. And their social media is huge, too. So, yeah, Fisherman Magazine, just, another staple of NJ Fishing. I'm glad now it's added to the list of people that have been on this podcast. Next week's guest, Heroes on the Water.
John.
John from Heroes on the Water. That's who we donated the money from the Christmas party to, who NJFishing.com, Jerry Zagorski, decided to give half to. They're basically a organization that I believe, and don't quote me word for word, but I believe they take like veterans out kayak fishing. I think that's like the main priority of them, Chris, right?
I believe so. Yeah, and we'll we're going to talk to him about all that, and he can
I think so.
explain in
I
detail.
think sometimes it's not even fishing; they'll just take them kayaking. But yeah, Heroes on the Water. We're going to learn more about them next week, and they're a great organization.
Wait,
This week,
you think they take veterans out on kayaks and not for fishing?
I think sometimes they just go.
That sounds like torture.
Well, it's Heroes on the Water. It's not Heroes on the
They
Water.
want to go
fishing.
fishing.
It's just Heroes on the Water. All right, you could fish then. Let them fish. Whatever. They're fishing. Heroes on the Water next week. Looks like the week coming up is going to just be more ice fishing. Or if you're trying to get that last deer, still 2 weeks left in a couple zones.
Well, I don't. Yeah, by the time this is available to view, the zone that we were hunting will be closed because it's going to close Friday. So the day that this comes out, it'll be closed. I want one more deer in the freezer, so I'm going for it. I baited it today. I'm going to go in between the snows and hope for the best. I mean, I know there's deer there. I don't know why nothing came by last time I was there because they came 2 days before that.
By
and
the
they
hundreds.
just disappeared.
Hundreds.
Yeah, and now the camera's dead, and I was like,
well, Chris literally
baited.
He baited the tree stand. So many deer came in, they killed the camera. Like that was that. Like I saw one picture, there's 14 deer, and then the batteries just died.
Yeah, so
I think I had it left on, to send it every picture to. So yeah, there's no camera.
Going old school. I mean, no camera. I don't know what's there. I don't know what's. I don't care. Buck, doe, medium size. I mean, I'd rather not, shoot one that's too small, obviously. But
believe it or not, I don't know. I mean, it's late into winter bow. I've still seen a lot of deer on the camera with their antlers. And we've had some freezing cold weeks. We have great ice fishing, and they're not dropping. I mean, obviously a lot of them have dropped, but there's still deer running around with nice racks. They're not falling off yet.
I actually didn't even realize that happened so soon. I mean, so I could shoot what I think is a doe, and it's actually a buck that dropped its antlers already. I guess.
It has two big white nubs that are clean cut. If it's a drop, you could tell it was naturally fell off, as opposed to something else. You'll know. It's got two white bald spots. All right, but we will be back next week with Heroes on the Water.
Oh, suffer for the fish. I almost forgot. Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Sorry.
Cut that. He forgot it.